All right, it is the latest episode of And on the Cool Check-In. So what we're going to talk about now, this episode is going to basically take the place of 50 for 50 this week. We're going to record some more episodes, but we like to be a little bit backlog so that we have stuff that we can post out, and we need an extra week. So we're just going to post this week, take a break from our deep dives, though I think the next episode after this will be Mary J. Blige, What's the 411?
Yeah,
Unless something insane happens and we
right.
change the schedule for whatever reason. That is the scheduled next album. So that's the one we'll talk about. So for this week, you and I had been wanting to do this episode on Arsenio Hall. His memoir just came out. He was a huge deal to us in our teenage years with his late night talk show. So much to the
Yeah.
point of I tried to watch episodes of the Tonight Show, and I tried to watch episodes of David Letterman, and I just could not, unless someone like Eddie Murphy was on. Then I would get through it. But for whatever reason, this was the only late night show I could ever rock with, Arsenio Hall.
I mean, same. I didn't watch Johnny Carson, before Arsenio Hall came on, and I never really watched like Letterman or Conan O'Brien or David Letterman. I just said David Letterman. Oops. Jay Leno.
There's been
Or
different variations of David.
yeah, and even now, I mean, I don't really watch late night TV. I'll catch like clips from Jimmy Kimmel or whoever in the morning. But Arsenio, when it wasn't a school night and I could actually stay up past 11:30, was appointment viewing. So summertime Friday nights, like it was definitely wanted to check out Arsenio.
There's a couple. I'm trying to remember the year exactly, but there was an entire summer where I would record the entire monologue.
Mm.
And then I would record the guest as well if it was like a favorite guest of mine. And I just remember I had this full summer's worth of Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio monologues.
Yeah, just because, it just felt like the thing for me, and that it had to have been. So the show debuts in what, 89?
Beginning of 89. Yep.
So January of 89. This was, I would guess it's either that summer or the following summer. But then he also does the MTV VMAs, which was special. I think back-to-back years he does the VMAs.
I think he did 3 years in a row. I think he did 89, 90, and 91.
Okay. So he's kind of hot and on the scene, and then people remember him from Coming to America.
Yeah.
He also says, now I don't know how true this is because I've never heard this story, though I will tell you the version of the story that I heard. In his book, he said when he was about to quit the show, Martin Lawrence offered him Bad Boys,
Mm-hmm.
the Will Smith part in Bad Boys. And I was like, I guess I could see it, but I'd never heard the story. So before I get to the story that I heard, had you ever heard that story?
I'd never heard that story. I mean, in Will's book, he talks about Martin sitting him down and pitching the Bad Boy script to him. So the one thing that does seem true between both stories is that Martin had the script first and was looking for whoever his number two is going to be. Arsenio Hall wasn't really like a movie actor outside of Coming to America. So it sounds more plausible that Will Smith would have been offered the role.
Okay,
because he had like a film history.
I'll connect some of the dots for you, which the dots that I'm going to try and connect actually makes the Arsenio thing a little bit more plausible.
Okay.
But the part of his story that I found interesting is he was saying that when he decided to step away, he wanted to step away in full. He didn't want to step away from late night and then go do movies. He wanted to take a break. So, okay, here's the story as I've heard it. Martin Lawrence. Now, the Bad Boys script was for a totally different movie. I want to say it was like Dana Carvey and John Lovitz or something is who
I
was written
think
for.
that sounds really familiar. I think you're right.
So then Martin is involved. Who does Martin want to do it with? Of course he wants to do it with Eddie. You think about the time frame of Bad Boys, we're talking Nutty Professor time frame, a little bit before that actually.
Yes, before that, I mean, they
Eh,
had probably just worked together on Boomerang.
well, Bad Boys comes out in 95, I think.
5. Okay,
So
Boomerang was
Boomerang's
92.
92. So we're in this space of some Eddie Murphy failures, I would say. And because his comeback is Nutty Professor. Also, Eddie's probably a little bit too pricey for the budget for the movie.
Right, right.
And so Martin said that his sister was the one that said, I think it was his sister, "Hey, you should check out Will, like
That I
you and
remember
Will."
that. That sounds the way I remember it too.
But it's quite possible that he may have talked to Eddie and Eddie could have said, "What about Arsenio?" Or because Eddie and Arsenio are like
They're
best
best
friends.
friends, right?
So that's where the tie-in fits. Again, I don't know that I necessarily believe that Arsenio was like one of the main the main calls, but some should ask Martin about it. 'Cause it's the first time I ever heard about it. So,
Right.
anyways, then Martin and Will have the chemistry, and they've now done 4 of these movies.
Movies, yes.
Okay, so we jumped far ahead, but that was one of the stories in the book that I was like, "Huh, I never heard that before."
Right.
Uh, let's talk a little bit about the book, and we can talk about some of the episodes of the Arsenio Hall show that we also remember very clearly. I did rewatch about 75% of the very first Arsenio Hall episode. But with memoirs are great because you kind of get this like firsthand insight into certain things that you may have always thought about.
Mhm.
But they're also written in a way in some points where they're really protecting their PR at the same time. And so I was very interested in hearing Arsenio talk about the end of the show because the story that Arsenio paints is that he was sick of it. They were stripping away what it was. That it was going down in ratings and he wanted to end it. He actually ends it and then Paramount publicly makes it seem like they fired him. That's
Right.
essentially the story.
Right.
Like I would love to believe Arsenio's version, but everywhere else that I've seen says it's the other way around.
Around.
I
I
I
mean,
I I mean I want to believe the Arsenio version.
Arsenio has receipts. Like there's a letter in the book um that actually is his resignation letter.
Mhm.
Um so I don't know. It did seem like super abrupt
Yeah.
because he's 5 years into the show. I don't know that the show is doing that badly. But there was also a bunch of like new blood around. Um and I can definitely see the Arsenio just kind of getting tired of being pulled in so many different directions. Can't really have who he wants to have on the show. Every time he wants to bring someone that's a little controversial on the show, it's a fight with the network because we're still not really into like the normalization of like hip hop culture. Um, there's fallout from him having Louis Farrakhan on the show, like all this stuff. Um, and I mean, the truth is probably somewhere in between, but I can definitely see Arsenio being like, you know what, I've had enough. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. It's a lot of work. I'm gonna just chill. Like, the one impression that I get from his book is that, like, he doesn't want to be he wants to be that guy, but he doesn't want to be that guy in a way.
Mhm.
Like, he wants to kind of play the back, be private, while still being able to like host and entertain and do all that stuff he wants to do. But it just seemed like he was kind of sick of it.
Were you surprised at anything in that book that he admitted or wrote about? Like, the one thing I was thinking of as we were talking
Mhm.
was the Paula Abdul stuff. Now, he didn't go deep into their relationship, but he admitted that they dated at the very least.
I mean, that's there's no way around that.
But they had
Uh,
always kind of skated over that
right,
story
right.
every time somebody asked.
So it's kind of like ha 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 ha. you know, um, that didn't really surprise me. I mean, I'm glad he admitted it because it's like, come on,
Yeah.
we can put two and two together. We could put two and two together 35 years ago when we were teenagers. Clearly, we can put two and two together now. Um, I think he was very, you mentioned him being protective, and I think he was not only protective of his story, but he was protective of like the people in his circle that he valued. So, he's protective of Eddie. He
That's what I was wondering is, does that come from Eddie specifically? Because Eddie became a star at such a young age, and he saw what happens when you don't have like that tight circle. And then Eddie pulls way back
right.
from as he gets older. So I wonder if that was strictly because of what Eddie saw and was like, "Hey, man, this is what you need to do."
Yeah. And I almost appreciated it because so many of these books are just kind of about the drama and shit talking people and doing all this. And everybody that Arsenio encountered, he painted in a pretty positive light, which I'm sure is not the case in like real life. But, he protected Mike, he protected Whitney, he protected Prince. He, made sure he didn't kind of mess with anybody's legacy in a negative way, while still, I think, coming across as being fairly honest. So I mean, I thought it was entertaining. There was no revelations. I think the Pamela Anderson thing was maybe the closest thing to a
Yeah,
revelation for me.
the fact that they went out or whatever.
Yeah,
What about the idea that until his dying day, Richard Pryor loved them strippers, man?
I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean,
I
I
didn't
can.
know they were that close though.
I
That was
mean,
interesting to hear about.
yeah, the actually I think the cooler Richard Pryor story was the fact that he brought Steve Harvey to me. Well, Arsenio and Steve Harvey apparently knew each other from when they were like
In
teenagers,
college,
young,
yeah.
yeah, in college. Um, and you know, I guess the story is that Arsenio was watching TV with Richard Pryor. And Richard Pryor saw the Steve Harvey show, was like, "Yo, that dude looks like me." And Arsenio was like, "I know this dude," and brought Steve to meet Richard, which just felt like a really like cool, heartwarming sort of story. Um,
Arsenio was close to some really, really big time superstars.
Superstar.
Obviously, Eddie,
Yeah.
Richard,
Mm.
Magic, like Magic
Right.
Johnson, and Arsenio wrote about going through when Magic went public with his HIV diagnosis,
Right.
and um how Magic specifically called Arsenio to tell him, and then wanted to come on the Arsenio Hall show to have a discussion, a conversation. And I remember the part about that show because it was such a big deal. You know, on a small tangent, Magic Johnson news, I know exactly where I was when I heard it.
I don't
That
know
is
if
how
I
big of a
remember
moment
it.
that was for
Right.
me.
It was a huge moment. I remember it was a huge moment for me too. Um, I was a Lakers fan, and also like I lived in Detroit for 3 years, and that's where Magic is from. Or he's from, Michigan anyway. Um, so yeah, that news like hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't remember exactly. I think I might have been in school when the rumor started, and I think the press conference might have, I might have been home already. But at any rate, yeah, that was, you think about our generation, um, that's probably like a top five cultural moment of all time.
I was in basketball study hall.
What the hell
Eh,
is basketball study hall?
So you're on the basketball team and your coaches force you as a group to go into a classroom so you can do your homework together, like under his supervision.
Wow.
So the coach walked up in front and said, "Hey man, this news just came out, Magic Johnson." And then he's like, I mean, he used it as an opportunity to tell these dudes like, this is why you
Wrap
got
your
to wear
shit up.
condoms.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think I was like 14, so you didn't have to tell me that.
Right.
But there were seniors on that in that classroom. So that was like a shock. Like they were just like we're just open mouth, like but of course, because of the age that we are, everyone's trying to be cool about it and crack jokes, but you could just tell like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? You know, where are we going with this? Like
Well,
it's very memorable.
yeah, man. I mean, I remember them doing all like the news clips, and it was like he'd already died.
Yeah.
Like they're playing "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday" and all this stuff, and he had just gotten diagnosed. Nobody would have imagined in a million years that here we are in 2026, and Magic Johnson is still alive and healthy.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, we all thought he'd be dead within like 5 years.
So a lot of the book is about his childhood
Mhm.
and moving around the family. His dad was like 30 years older than his
His
mom or something
mom,
like that.
yeah,
That was wild.
yeah,
And
yeah. I didn't know they had age gaps like that back in the day.
yeah, that was crazy.
Mm.
And Pops is a preacher and Mom's is not really into religion like that. So I kind of wonder, how that relationship really started, like what happened there. But they
Right.
got married, had Arsenio, and they got divorced when he was pretty young. So he talks about, or he writes about, all the places that he lived. Like they were just moving out, moving in, moving out,
Hmm.
moving in, and then they would settle for a little bit, and he'd make some friends, and then they'd move again, and then I think finally he does when he goes to college, he's kind of settled and such, and so he's on the radio doing the college radio shows, and he's doing stand up, and he's a magician. So he's got all of these like very interesting stories about his background that kind of makes him who
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
And then he just decides to go to LA, go to Hollywood, and to do stand up there. What's interesting about his story, I think, is, at least to me, we know him as someone who really never settled down to get married. Like, even his son is born from a relationship of, like, it sounds like both of them wanted to have a kid, and they
no,
just were really good friends back in the day, and
I mean the
very
way
attracted to each other, but never with the intention of, like, marrying each other, I guess?
I read it, and I think he's still with his kid's mom.
Oh, is it the same
I think
woman?
it's the same woman. Yeah, like I think he's been
Okay,
with the same woman for like 35 years or something like that.
okay,
And they
because
just did the Janet Jackson thing and never got married.
the way that he described it was that they were fond of each other, but it's not like when he was talking about her, he was like, "And she would soon to become the
Right.
mother of my," like,
Mother
he
of the
didn't
child.
talk about her like that, so I was
Right.
kinda like, "Huh, I wonder if this was just like, you know, a convenient kinda thing where we both wanna
No.
have a kid and we both like each other." But no, that's okay, that you connected those dots then.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
just
she started out as his assistant.
right. But
Yeah.
he did mention how attractive she was
Right.
immediately when he met her.
Hmm.
But ultimately, so all through the background, and then we end up with this show, and I think the show is probably at least half of the book, like,
Yeah.
just going over guests and ups and downs, and because he comes out like a ball of fire,
Yeah. Yep.
and he really catches the attention, and it was a necessary show for the new audience, and almost like the anti Johnny in a sense, because that was one of the things when I was younger. Is like, Johnny's kind of old and corny. Like, why would I
Yeah.
watch this?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you were watching a talk show back in those days, your options were basically Johnny Carson and David Letterman. Johnny Carson was very much like, oh, Hollywood, he's going to have these people on that are more his era, his age. And if you're a teenager, Johnny Carson at this point is probably in his like 50s or 60s. Like, there's just not going to be any interest. Whereas I think Letterman's thing was like college age and like 20s, like suburban white people, for lack of a better term. And neither Carson nor Letterman was putting any real like minority talent on their shows or like young talent. So, you had this is an era when like you have a big group of artists, whether they're actors or directors or singers or whoever it is, that just for as far if they want to be on late night TV, they don't have an option. Like, where is Spike Lee gonna go?
Mhm.
Where is Denzel gonna go? Where's Luther gonna go? Where's New Edition gonna go? So Arsenio just the lane was completely empty. He stepped into the lane, and then the entire audience was like, "Oh, like we didn't even realize there could be a thing for us. We're all going to flock to this show because it's the only game in town."
You know what I know most about Johnny Carson, or at least up to that point, was half.
Half, yes,
Was that on Raw? That was on Raw, right?
that was raw. Yep,
So Eddie Murphy Raw, he uses Johnny Carson's divorce as an example of like why Eddie himself didn't really want to get married, because he saw Johnny's very successful, did all this great work, like just late night legend, very rich, and then is on the National
right.
Enquirer with with this like whole thing of like, oh man, like my empire, because he had now an ex-wife,
Got to
and
pay out half.
she was taking a half of his money.
Hmm.
And he would say something like oh yeah, Johnny Carson puts all this money in, and then his wife, put whatever, like $5 in or whatever, and that equals half, and he was using this as a thing. And then it goes into what is it, fufu, is that what he said?
Yeah,
He says
and fufu. Yes, yes.
so but that's what I knew about Johnny, was through this Eddie Murphy story.
Right,
And I think, like, if you think about how how things can be created, like anybody doing a Johnny ripoff was going to fail, because why would someone watch a Johnny ripoff when the real Johnny is still there?
right,
Letterman, a little bit younger for sure, a little bit more of like that SNL style of comedy,
right,
I would say. And so you don't want to do Letterman because he's already got his show. So you go to the right. And I thought it was the perfect opportunity. Now, Arsenio, on his very first show, as part of his monologue, he said something to the effect of, I realize that you all watching may not even know who I am,
right,
because a lot of us didn't really know who he was.
right.
Like that, it wasn't, he was not a name when he came out with this show.
Right. I mean, just because I'm a nerd, like I knew who he was because I'd seen him on Soul Train. I'd seen him. He was like every, when Solid Gold was on, every couple of episodes, they'd have a comedian do something, and Arsenio was that comedian for a while. He'd also like done the guest hosting thing from Joan Rivers,
Hmm.
and was in Coming to America. So like I knew him as more of like a stand-up comedian than anything else. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people just didn't know who this guy was.
How many people do you think looked at the television and squinted and was like,
Is
Meshack
that Eddie
Taylor?
Murphy?
Well, I was gonna say
Is that
Meshack
Meshack
Taylor's got
Taylor?
a late night show.
I mean,
I was
nobody really knew who Meshack Taylor was either.
But he was on, was he on,
Designing
like,
Women.
Designing Women, which
Yeah,
was a CBS show, which
yeah,
was, they probably did 20 million every week.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, like, I just remember thinking like,
Meshack
okay,
Taylor.
this guy's a little, I mean, he wore glasses, he had the flat top, so it's
Yeah,
not like he was, like, super suave guy. But he was funny and he had famous friends, so you're like, "Okay, maybe he is something."
right,
And then, like you said, he really, really embraced the music stuff that we were listening to.
right.
So do you remember the very first episode?
I don't remember the very first episode. I probably didn't watch it at the time, and I was 12. Um, so I feel like if I started when I started watching Arsenio, it might have been that summer.
Right.
Yeah,
Which I think is when it did really
yeah,
launch,
when it started,
hit
yeah,
big
to blow
time.
up. Yeah,
So the very first guest, Brooke
Brooke
Shields,
Shields. Yeah,
and the entire interview is I wouldn't even call it a gentleman's version, because I thought some of Arsenio's like jokes were a little leading, but it's essentially, Brooke Shields, you are a virgin. and everyone wants to have sex with you. How do you deal with that?
Right. Right.
And so they did it. So Brooke Shields mentions that Eddie Murphy had called her and asked, I forgot the story that she told, but Arsenio says something to the effect of like, yeah, because if you and Eddie were in the limo together, you know what Eddie's trying to do. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh man. Yeah.
There's a this joke would have gone way over my head at the time, but because like you said, we are 12 years old. But he does this joke about why all the women like Michael Jordan, and it has everything to do with the fact that he sticks his tongue out all the time. And like in the moment that I would have thought it was like, oh, there must be something funny about a man who sticks his tongue
His
out.
tongue
Like
out.
I didn't get the innuendo
It's
back then.
yes. Yes.
But
Yeah.
the thing that I realized about episode 1 is it's a very sexualized show. A lot of the jokes were sexualized, which that makes sense. Early 90s time
Right.
frame.
Late night TV.
And this dynamic of like prim and proper Brooke Shields,
Yes.
white lady, white young actor, whatever Brooke was,
She,
model.
I mean, she. What was Brooke Shields back then? I mean,
She was talking about Michael Jackson and
right.
how
Yeah.
kind he is, and she's just famous. Like she was
Right.
like a celebrity, just
Right.
more than anything else.
Right.
And then Arsenio, like comic, and he's trying to get her to come out of her shell a little bit, but she's very professional. She knows, how to stay Brooke Shields. That was fascinating. Then Luther comes on. I shit you
Is it
not.
Fat Luther or Skinny Luther?
It's Fat Luther. But here's the conversation. Well, after they talk about the music, here's the conversation. Arsenio giving Luther a pep talk. Luther, we don't care if you're skinny
Yes.
or if you're bigger. We love you. And it was literally just about how fat he was.
Right.
Wild.
Right. I mean, but that was, the big thing with Luther at the time was that his weight just kept fluctuating. I mean, you know, um, and I think that was at a point where he had very publicly lost a lot of weight, and then he's on TV now, and he clearly gained it all back.
Yes.
And I think it was just and Arsenio and Luther. I mean, Arsenio outs Luther for like the fourth or fifth time in the book. But I think he's basically just kind of like tell his friend, look, man, like we don't care, like be happy.
But to do that in front of a national audience,
Right,
and
right,
Luther doesn't. Luther, he did not. I wouldn't say he didn't look comfortable because I'm guessing he knew that was going to be some of the discussion.
yeah,
But he wasn't like cracking up at
right,
anything Arsenio was saying. He was
right.
he was like very reserved. I did tell my my stepson who was watching. I was like, that song with Kendrick and SZA? That's the dude. And he's like,
Right,
oh
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
guy.
He's like,
Right.
oh yeah, Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross. um, so yeah, that episode was very interesting to watch back. And I guess it made me think, like, what were some of your most memorable Arsenio moments?
Oh man. Magic, clearly.
Mhm.
I definitely stayed up to watch that episode because, you know, again, that news threw me for a complete loop. Um, so that sticks out. There was an episode where Janet was in rehearsals for the Rhythm Nation tour, and basically Arsenio went, it was like this big production. He went backstage and out the building and then pulled up at like Janet's rehearsal space and spoke to her in the rehearsal space.
I remember
Uh,
that.
and
He
Janet
was
is like, well,
he was in love with Janet,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yes. Um, there was the entire episode that Prince did, which was I think Prince's first time on a talk show ever.
Yeah,
Uh,
Arsenio writes a lot about that
yeah,
in the book.
yeah. So that was super important. Um, there was an episode where the New Kids came out and they were someone had come out and been like, the New Kids, I was the producer for the New Kids and they lip sync. So the New Kids were on tour, flew across the world like did the Arsenio show, sang live, and were like, okay, now you get it. This is us singing.
There was a Bobby version of that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember Arsenio was like, people don't think Bobby's a good singer. Like Bobby can sing and listen to his voice and this and that.
Right. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the moments I can think of from watching Arsenio are like music, either moments with musicians or actual playing of music on the show. Like I remember, him bringing Donnie Wahlberg on and Donnie bringing out Marky Mark for the first time. I remember him having NWA on the show, which was insane. Yeah, so just like a lot of musical moments, people that I, would have never seen on a late night television show prior to that point on TV.
I remember the Tupac one where Tupac mentioned about Janet Jackson wanting him to take an HIV
The AIDS
test.
test, yeah.
And he's like, if we're going to have sex, I'll take 100 AIDS tests.
Right.
And I remember Martin Lawrence coming on and Bill Cosby had been critical of him. And Martin was like, go watch Fat Albert. Like, it's just Bill Cosby, having friends with disabilities and stuff and using that as comedy. He's like, Bill's not clean here.
Right.
Let's see, Hulk Hogan going on to basically say he didn't take steroids. Which he lied through his teeth. And in addition to being a racist, he's obviously also a liar. So much so that there's a Hulk Hogan documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so he talks about the Arsenio thing. So Vince McMahon, the guy who was running WWF at the time, was like, okay, you need to go clean. You need to tell the truth. You're going on Arsenio, tell the truth. And so that was the plan. And then Hogan veered off of the plan and told what he said. So as they did the interview with Hogan before he passed. And so the doc's on Netflix now. And Hogan says, yeah, I should have told the truth on Arsenio, blah, 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 blah. That was a mistake. And almost in the same breath says, I got that job for Arsenio. So this MF is talking about how he shouldn't have lied, and in the same breath lying again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Let me think of some other stuff. Okay, obviously, the Hip Hop All Stars. Let's go into the last episodes, right?
I think that was the last episode.
Maybe the very last episode. The Hip Hop All Stars. Gosh, I wonder. I threw that videotape away a long time ago. But the things the thing that make you say, like that was always a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, how many talk show hosts have, been responsible for like a huge hit record based on something that
Music
they said?
Factory.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about the story that he tells in the book about the Paula Abdul video? Do you think he was just going to pick her up and she was like, I need to put you in the video. You're the same size as this dude. Come on. Like, we need to put you in, like, do you believe that part of the story?
I don't believe that that's exactly what happened. I mean,
it makes him look like a pretty cool dude for it to happen that way, though.
At that point, like Arsenio's kind of not a huge star. Paula's not even a huge star yet. I think it's just like, okay, this is my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my partner. One thing that story did make me think of is, where is the transition from Jackie Jackson to Arsenio Hall? And like, how does that work? Because Arsenio's also obviously very close to the Jackson family. Like, yeah, just what is that sequence looking like?
Well, I mean, Jackie Jackson essentially had to stop seeing Paula because, like, his wife.
Oh yeah, because wifey was mad
shit out of him, right?
Yeah. Well, ran him over.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's why he missed of that
victory.
tour.
He missed almost all of the victory tour.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you could keep seeing her on the side, but I'm gonna keep running you over.
Right, I'll run you over again.
Yes, choice.
Yeah.
So he was probably like, Arsenio, you need to like
right. Come meet my friend. Yes.
Yeah. But the story of Arsenio, I've always found it to be so interesting, and I feel like if he ever comes out this way to do improv stuff, comedy stuff,
Comedy
I
stuff.
do wanna see him because he was here, I wanna say 2 years ago, and I missed it.
Okay.
He
There
just did, like, a
was
2 or 3-day stay at the San Jose Improv, and I was like, "Ah, I shoulda gone." I really wanted to go, and I don't remember why I had to miss it, but if he comes back, I'm gonna make it a point to go see him.
they were selling tickets for like like a sit down interview based related to the book, and then it got canceled. And I don't know why it got canceled.
Hmm,
But I would have paid for that ticket. I wanted to be in that building. Um
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would love to see Arsenio do like a book thing or do like or I'd watch him do stand up or anything like that. Hard to believe that that man is 70 years old.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you have a, Chunky A vinyl back there?
I don't. I actually somewhere in here I do have the Chunky ACD,
Oh, okay.
and I think I want to say somebody got it for me, like maybe even back in the Opinions days.
No way.
Yeah, that somebody found it in like a used record store and sent it to me.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Obviously, Harlem Nights, he was in Harlem Nights as, like,
Yes.
the crying dude.
The crying gangster. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there in did he was he in any other movies after that that I can't
He
remember?
wasn't. No, he did like after the show ended. Like he took a little bit of time off, and then he had a sitcom where he was a sports reporter, and Vivica
Mm.
Fox was his wife.
Oh, no way. I
Yeah,
don't remember that one.
his show ran for like 7 episodes, and then it got
Mm.
canceled. And then he was on that show Martial Law.
I remember that.
Yeah,
He said that the show in the book, he writes that the show stopped because the what is that guy's name?
Sammo
Samo?
Hung.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got homesick or something and didn't
Mm,
wanna be in the US or whatever.
mm.
Um, yeah, I just feel, and, we mentioned this before, but his sitcom or his late night show had a rebirth
Right.
post Apprentice,
Yeah.
and I don't remember how many episodes it lasted, but
It lasted. It was a full season. He did it for a year.
the
Um.
what I remember is that he was getting, like, B-level guests, like, he wasn't getting
Right.
those
He
those
wasn't.
big
Yeah.
time guests as he used to.
Yeah. I mean, he got Prince, and I think that was Prince's last interview. So in retrospect, that was a really big get. Um, I believe Paula was on. I mean, obviously Paula Abdul in 2015 is not Paula Abdul in 1990.
She's still got some post American Idol fame.
Idol, right? But yeah, I mean, he wasn't getting the big name guests.
And I mentioned this to you before, but I remember Tiffany Haddish as the woman on the street
Right,
thing for that
right,
show. That's the first time I'd ever seen her.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
all right. So, would you recommend this book to? For folks like us, it's an easy recommend. But
yeah.
people maybe who aren't giant fans of Arsenio, would you recommend it?
I would recommend it just because I'm a very know your history kind of person, and it's like I think we sort of take for granted now that this lane exists for us. And you've got Jimmy Fallon and again Jimmy Kimmel, people who have like cool people on for late night TV, like you used to seeing like black and brown people on late night TV now. But Arsenio he wasn't one of the first, he was the first. He was
Hmm.
the number one dude in the door. And I don't know that he necessarily, I mean, I think because he's so kind of reclusive and not really public facing, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for that.
Um, we're gonna do another one of these episodes on a book that came out recently as well. Brandy Memoir.
Yeah.
I still have to dig into that one, so it won't be anytime soon.
Yeah.
Are there any other memoirs that are coming out that you are aware of? I know you read the Teddy Riley one,
I
but
read
you
the
said
Teddy
that one was
Riley book and I
terrible.
didn't like it. I did not like it at all. And I think just even without the book, like because of what we're doing for the podcast, and Brandy, I think is certainly like a pretty important person. So if we're not going to do an album, then we
Yeah,
should
for
definitely
sure.
at least do
Oh,
the book and the whole like Brandy, Monica, Aaliyah kind of thing. And just kind of cover that, those
there's
artists in that
the
era.
and there's some Boys to Men Wanye stuff we'll
Yeah,
be
man.
talking about.
Yeah.
That is it's almost like that was a public it was like a secret that was out in the public
Yeah.
at the time, and you don't hear anybody really talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not funny. Um, eh, because it was around the same time that the R. Kelly Aaliyah stuff was happening. And for some reason, folks gave Brandy and Wanye. I mean, Brandy was a minor, so you know. But that relationship was also, I don't want to say vetted, but Brandy's parents were aware that that was happening as it
Mhm.
was happening. And so I don't. I mean, I would love to know what was really going on behind the scenes, like, but at that to give so much emphasis to one and kind of let the other one just slide under the door a little bit is a little strange in retrospect.
It is a little interesting about how we view public figures who we've watched grow up.
Right.
Because we knew who Brandy was around the time that her albums like, she was an artist, she was on TV,
Yeah.
so it was almost like, "Oh, yeah, we know Brandy. Brandy's been around forever," but she's still a teenager, right? She's
Right.
still a young
A
adult.
young teenager. I mean, she was. I mean, when her first album came out, she was 15.
There's a story that I just read in People, and I guess, Dana Plato, there was an episode of, I forget the name of the show, but it's like Demons something or other, and it was about
Mm,
Dana Plato, who died at a very young
young
age,
age. Yeah.
and Todd Bridges was on it. Now, with Todd Bridges, you do have to take things with a
Grain
grain of
of
salt.
salt. Yes.
He said that when 'cause I guess Dana's a year older than him,
Mm,
and he said when he was 12, I won't even describe it the way that he said it, but she did something sexual to him, and he had never done anything before, so he didn't know really what was going on, or, I mean, I'm sure he knew what was going on. He didn't say that she raped him or anything,
right.
but it was like they're like 12 and 13 or something like that,
Right. Right.
and he's saying that X happened, which made me think, "Oh, she's done stuff that I haven't experienced yet."
Right.
And so and then in the same story, People Magazine covered it. I didn't watch the actual TV show that Dr. Drew narrated or talked about or whatever.
Right.
Todd said Dana was in his first threesome,
Oh, I read this statement.
foursome, and fivesome.
Yeah.
Wow, what
Yeah.
was going on in the 80s, man?
I mean, some crazy shit. Clearly.
These dudes are young.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, child stars are so exploited.
Yeah.
And the amount of adults, like, you hear about it all the time now. Like, there was that whole Nickelodeon series like a year or two
Oh,
ago.
yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, and it's like, and Michael Jackson's in the news. Like, you think about all this stuff, and it's like there are so many like predatory adults in this industry, whether it's in the entertainment industry, in any industry. I mean, teachers do it all the time too. That take advantage of children.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's possible for there to be uh, a child entertainer who has not been exploited in some way, shape, or form. It's sad, because it's like you want these people to be successful and not be successful with all this baggage. But I mean, all of these folks, you can go, there's a long ass list, you can go down it, and it's like they all have baggage.
Whew, yeah, that is, it's hard to even think about or wrap your mind around, and so you
Yeah.
just kinda wanna it's not close
Push
to
it to the
me.
side.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not something I have to deal with, that's celebrity, and, like, it almost dehumanizes people in a way to think about it that way,
Right.
because it's like your brain can't realize any of that stuff
Right.
as happening, so that's yeah,
Right.
wild. Alright, so like we said, this is gonna be our only episode this week. But we'll be back next week with another 50 for 50. And we may do this from time to time just to catch up. And because, I do this, I probably record. There's more days of the week that I record than I don't record. So
Sure.
this is like, for me, I'm just like on all the time.
Right.
But and you have a podcast as well. I'm
Right.
not minimizing that. But
Yeah.
our weekends are our weekends, and so we're
Right.
taking out a lot of our time on the weekend to prepare
Yes.
for this show,
Yeah.
to record. So I like the idea of taking a couple of breaks here and there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is, even though we did record. But
And it
yeah,
also will let people catch up.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, all righty, that is
All
it
right.
from here. So for Mike, I'm Double GC. When we see you, peace out.